This is going to be a different kind of review. I kind of grabbed this one on my own. It's a 2020 Hyundai Palisade, so yeah, Chris couldn't come along, so I guess the best place to start is sort of the interior. And up front, things seem great, but I can't really speak for the back in terms of like the third row, so...
I can.
Oh my God! I told you to stay in your car seat!
Hey Queens, welcome back to Gears and Queers. I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And today we're conquering parking lots in the 2020 Hyundai Palisade.
Today, we're going to show you guys around this Palisade and tell you why it's not just an affordable option, but honestly, one of the strongest contenders in the three-row full-size SUV market.
Let's go to Whole Foods.
Well, Christopher, here we are, a suburban mom's dream, a 2020 Hyundai Palisade SEL.
With the convenience package.
Oh, God, those words, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Convenience. Well, so that means basically...
SEL is mid-tier.
So the convenience package gives us such things as like 20-inch wheels. We've got a power liftgate, power sunroof, wireless charging.
Bunch of stuff in the second and third rows.
We got like USB ports galore. We've got peasant blockers in the second row. We got captain's chairs as a no-cost option. We love it. Self-leveling rear suspension.
Like a Rolls Royce.
Kinda.
What is the Palisade? This is Hyundai's three-row entrance into the ever-expanding full-size SUV market.
This is,
It's a family hauler.
Really, this is kind of long overdue, and it's kind of a really... If you're going to make a splash into that market, which is already so competitive, this is the way to do it.
Right.
This is a twin to the Kia Telluride. So, that one I feel it kind of edges more on sporty. This one's kind of more the maybe luxury.
I was going to say, where do you fall on spectrum? I'm more Telluride.
I think I'm the Palisade.
I'm just in terms of looks, I think the Telluride looks a bit more modern. This thing's gaping maw of a grille is...
The split headlight design.
The headlights are cool. The headlights are really cool. I like the light treatment. It's just big, very large grille.
It is. It's a really large grille.
And drivetrain-wise, what are we working with?
All Tellurides and Palisades, regardless of trim level, have a 3.8-liter V6, 291 horsepower.
262 pound-feet of torque?
Yes. And this specific one is front-wheel drive, although you can get all-wheel drive.
Now, my first impression of that drivetrain in this car, I think everybody was a little worried, because this is... Oh God, this thing's nearly 5,000 pounds. About 5,000 pounds. That to me, less than the Challenger we reviewed. Peep that. I was worried, but it is mated to an 8-speed automatic, which is pretty nice. Probably the most important thing to touch on if we're going to talk about family hauler is where you're going to spend all your time, and so are all your lovely children. The interior.
The interior. One thing notably missing from this particular car is the leather seats. We got cloth, although I do think this is a nice texture.
It looks nice, but
incredibly stainable.
To not have leather in a family car, and leather vinyl, obviously, that you can wipe down, like these, especially, I don't know Hyundai's sort of fixation on sort of lighter color interiors, but this is going to be a stain magnet.
I will say, like, the layout, the arrangement of everything, it's pretty logical. It's pretty much where you'd expect it to be. Again, we are just in the mid-trim SEL, so you don't get the full digital instrument cluster like you get on the Limited or the premium package. We have the smaller screen for the radio and everything like that, and we do have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all the stuff you'd expect. But it's interesting what they did to fill the blank space, because it's not the full screen. We've got a light for just about every seat belt in the entire car.
Every seat, it looks like those little stickers that people put on the back of the cars, where it's like mom and dad, and then like the 8 children, the 4 cats, and the car, and then
It's kind of funny. I mean, I guess it's good info because you can yell at Bobby in the back seat who's not buckled up. So I mean, like,
remember that you have something in the back seat.
Yes.
I think what I really focus on is sort of like this center console treatment, especially when like all the cup holders are closed off. It's a lot of that like odd, a lot of texture. I actually love Hyundai gauge treatment, super clear. The middle screen is really nice, especially for the graphic for like Smart Cruise and all that. Also, keep in mind that this is like a relatively affordable family hauler for something this size. So like you obviously are going to find cost cutting, and also it's like, of course,
as spec, this one's about $37,000, give or take a little bit, with that convenience package, which you have to get the sunroof with. I think it's like $2,200 for the convenience, $900 for the sunroof.
The thing is, there are little touches here and there that are like very welcome. And when we first hopped in it, I was like, wow, this is nice. But you got this sort of like plastic knurling on certain things, like the sunroof controls, volume, the vent close-offs. Yeah, the drive mode switch is a little chintzy. Like, it's just that last little bit of follow-through that is not bringing it all there for me. But hey, like, you know, we can sit here and nitpick all day long.
And then power points everywhere. Even the third row, each seat on both sides.
Oh my God, charging central. And then up here we've got wireless charging as well. Like, if you've got, honey, you've got devices, she's got ports.
She's got power.
On the subject of seats, I think this is going to be a really fun one because we've got a lot of real estate to deal with. Can we sit behind ourselves? Wow. Movie magic. Here we are. I feel so free back here.
There's a really good amount of leg room.
Especially sitting behind you. Like, look at that.
Yeah, even me sitting behind you, I can get my feet entirely under the front seat. My knees aren't hitting anything.
And I love a captain's chair moment. I love a little armrest.
Our climate controls for the second and third rows here. Many cup holders.
And you've got an actual, like...
115 volt outlet.
Wow.
Look at that. A little peasant blocker action right here. Look at that. Honey, that's luxury.
Truly. Love this.
Air vents, reading lights. I don't know how to read, so that doesn't help me.
Yeah, but you can plug in your personal computer.
I can. I can have an entire laptop, desktop.
I want you to bring a full-size iMac into the second row.
I could do it.
This is great. Let's try third row. Mom, can you still hear me? Mom,
are we there yet?
These are the are we there yet seats for sure. I was actually expecting a bit more room back here. I don't know, it just seems like there might be, but this is pretty bad.
You are splayed, your legs.
Yeah,
are,
this is like...
I think your seat might be a little bit more back towards the rear of the vehicle than mine is.
Even then.
Mine is about in a normal spot. My knees are touching the back of the seat. It feels like comfortable. You could probably get away with this for short drives for like an adult, but like, you know, children, whatever. They don't even know what comfort is. I don't even think kids have legs. Optional. Available only on the upper trims. But we have USB ports Type A back here. We can charge things.
Yeah.
You have 2 cup holders. I have 2 cup holders.
I sure do.
We can squeeze most of a child between us. We have air vents.
We do have air vents, and I love air vents. What is this? Okay. Anyway,
there's a lot happening back here.
Sure. Passes the third row. I'll take it.
There is a third row.
What is this?
The middle seatbelt.
Ah! Ah! Oh God, it's starting again. Well, back to it.
Every person in this car can have 2 drinks at once.
You can have a hot beverage, you have a cold beverage, you have a caffeinated beverage. Thankfully, we have a handy little rear occupant mirror, sort of, you know, like bodega style, like to look around
make
corners.
Sure that little Timmy in the back seat is shutting up and on his iPad and not kicking his little sister.
You better get down. You actually told me a little tidbit. There's also in higher trims a what?
A walkie-talkie system.
Oh my God.
Because, you know, being 5 entire feet, when you're social distancing from your family
in your Hyundai Palisade,
you better make sure that they can hear you.
Absolutely.
And, they can. Just don't sneeze towards the back of the car.
I mean, hey, we've got the clean air sort of, you know, high density filter to make sure.
We do. And thank God for that. We also have 3 zones of climate. We've got one for the driver, one for the front passenger.
Condensers working overtime.
And then the rear seats get 1 zone on this trim, but even the third row has vents, and it can all, of course, be adjusted fan and temperature independent of the front, which is pretty cool. And you've got those peasant blockers in the second row, so nobody has to see you rolling around in the Palisade.
Like the most affordable, biotech-friendly cocoon on the road today, maybe.
That sort of looks like a really big insect.
I mean, what else could you want as a mom who just needs to find a space in Whole Foods? Obviously, we would be doing a disservice to our family viewers, so, you know, let's talk, like, things that people really care about. Cargo capacity. Give it to me.
Well, what's interesting is actually, even though we don't have, like, the nicest Palisade, you have electric releases for second row seats at the rear hatch.
That should absolutely be standard, like, especially with something that's freaking massive. You don't want to be running all around.
Yeah, like, you don't have to ping pong back between, like, the hatch and the second row. If you're trying to, like, throw some lumber.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, when you're throwing your kids and lumber into your
the
car.
back seat.
You know.
That's, I think, very convenient. Even though you don't have, like, the full electric, you have those releases and the seats will just fold flat instantly. And, you know, just behind the third row, when the seats are up, you have 18 cubic feet. You fold that third row of seats, you got 45.8 cubic feet of storage. And if you fold the second row, that's 86.4 cubic feet of storage.
So we're done with responsible bits of information. I think the next thing that, family haulers really want to know about is, how does this thing drive? And how does she handle? Christopher, I think the only thing that makes sense when driving the Palisade is to put it in sport mode and goose it. Oh my God! And the kids didn't even wake up. They didn't even notice the front wheel burnout. You just did. Wow. Compelling power from the V6.
From that 3.8 liter, we got that all 291 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque, barbecuing the front tires. Fully defeatable traction control on the Hyundai Palisade.
The thing is, no one is expecting this to be a canyon carver, and it's unfair to talk about this car like it's going to be handled like some dream.
Right.
And I think first impression, it was... what was your first impression getting in?
We expect it to kind of have... not the best dynamics, not the best steering, not the best brakes, whatever. But I'd say it all feels secure, confident. Yeah. Of course, you don't want to feel every crack in the road in your 3-row SUV, and I think the steering does a good job of isolating you from that, which, to some is a detriment, to some is a benefit.
Sharper impacts do come through, but for the most part...
20-inch wheels.
Yeah, the actual movement is quelled really well. Steering, it's electric. What do you expect?
Again, it's light effort. This thing is easy to park.
Again, this is engineered to whip it around a parking lot, to be able to drive without feeling like you're, on a constant crisis mode.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily not interesting to drive. I've definitely driven more bargey, floaty, worse driving SUVs.
I think getting into a corner, it was kind of surprising. It feels a little floaty, neutrally, there's a bit more bobbing and weaving than you expect, but actually throwing it into a corner,
it kind of belies its size.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily feel like it's a full 3-row SUV. It maybe feels like something more like a RAV4
CX-5. Yeah. No, it was pretty surprising. But again, obviously comfort is on the forefront, and it delivers, I think, for the most part, except for sharper impacts. But it's pretty nice.
Absolutely. And incredibly, this has a pretty good range of driver assistance features standard.
Yeah, let's talk smart cruise.
So it does have adaptive cruise control, has lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, all that good stuff. And our experience with the smart cruise and lane keep on the highway, honestly, impressed deeply.
I was terrified, but it was great.
It's definitely unnerving to concede full control of the vehicle to itself and expect, everything to just go well. But it did. It doesn't ping pong between the lanes. It tracks on and it keeps it pretty much dead center in the lane, constantly making minor corrections as needed to keep it where it is.
Stop and go, super smooth.
Absolutely. It's full speed adaptive cruise control. So we literally were in heavy stop and go traffic on I-75 here in Atlanta earlier, and
it was great.
Turned it on and were perfect test for it. It truly shined in that situation.
And even in weird situations where someone will merge in front of you,
cut in front of the space.
It immediately latches on and accommodates for that extra car and backs off. I was, again, terrified, but thoroughly impressed.
I think this thing moves pretty well, and you kind of don't necessarily want it to be faster because it's not really set up dynamically for that.
No.
But it makes pretty good use of what it's got.
Right.
We're still dealing with a large NAV6. We're not getting that low-end turbo torque, so of course it's still kind of peaky.
Like we said, the transmission, I think, is really what cuts in here and makes this car feel a lot more, apt to its abilities than expected. And this is Hyundai Kia's in-house 8-speed. I wouldn't say it's as smooth and seamless as a ZF, but it performs pretty damn well. Yeah, and it responds well to paddles. Not so much on upshifts. The upshifts take a beat. But downshifts are actually surprisingly responsive, but also who is rowing through the gears in the Hyundai Palisade?
But isn't that also usually kind of the opposite? Usually the upshifts are more quick to respond.
Yeah,
than the downshifts
I wonder why.
Honestly, with cars automatic equipped and paddle shift equipped transmissions, I usually only use it to downshift for engine braking.
Right.
So I kind of prefer that. I don't really care to just be upshift banging through the gears, but I will say these ratios are really well spaced. They're also really closely spaced.
They are. There's 200 RPM difference between any of them.
It's pretty crazy. And the engine actually kind of sounds pretty decent. And you do have some driving modes.
That drive mode switch is chintzy.
Chintzy. It's huge. It takes up way too much real estate.
Yeah. And then the volume knob and the tuning knob almost blend in with the trim on the actual dash. Again, aesthetic choices.
Hierarchically weird.
Yeah, absolutely. I notice in sport, it's what you've got. It immediately will take you down a gear, but nothing else feels any different. I don't notice a change in throttle. I don't notice a change in steering.
Maybe a little bit heavier. Kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell with a steering as light as this already. You always have an eco mode, and you have smart mode.
Other companies call it like dynamic and...
Yeah, or kind of maybe blends both or tries to sort of, read the road and give you what you need at the time. Again, in a lot of these instances, there's not a very perceptible difference between any of them, except for maybe from them to sport. So
right, and
again, honestly,
who's taking their Palisade to the autocross?
No one's probably even gonna notice that like day to day. So it's cool that they gave it to you, but the thing is, in any of the modes, it does its job very, very well.
Yeah, this is a incredibly competent, I think, not even just a great value, but a compelling option in this highly competitive space.
Yeah,
I think I got into this thing kind of expecting it to be it is well reviewed, and I was expecting to be impressed with it, but honestly, Kia and Hyundai have always been a little bit missing, a little bit lacking in that final edge we talked in refinement.
Right.
And yes, maybe some of the tactility, the materials aren't quite there, but I think the driving dynamics and the effectiveness of the technology, of the safety features, is absolutely up to par, if not now the standard.
This now feels like a unique car, not like an attempt at catching up to the rest of the market. Like this feels like a standalone vehicle in its own right. Karen, you walk right out to that Hyundai lot, you get yourself a Hyundai Palisade, because you'll be pleasantly surprised. Well, Queens, that's it for us here in the 2020 Hyundai Palisade. Thanks for coming along. I think we're gonna go off now, maybe pick up some friends, maybe go to Whole Foods. What do you think about that?
What else would you do?
I mean, what else do you do other than ferry everybody around in something like this? But yeah, I mean, are we 3-row full-size SUV converts? I guess we are.
I think everybody loves to hate on this specific class of vehicle.
True.
But when you drive one of the better examples of that and come away impressed, it really makes you take a look at that stance.
I'm not one for sitting up high, but this has been a fun little family experience. Yeah. And thanks for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I see how many of you are watching unsubscribed. Come on now, let's be allies.
And if you want to see more of the 3-row SUV or even like family mover type vehicles, let us know in the comments.
But we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.